different pollinators on this winged sumac. Almost everything's bloomed early this year, but here it is mid-August and winged sumac's still blooming, and that's kind of unusual. It's really fun watching all the different insects that are attracted to it. So, Ryan Williamson here at Sourwood Farm. It's, like I said, mid-August, and that is time to start thinking about winter. There's so many different tasks that are happening. This is my nuke yard. Got about 150 colonies here. I hope to, as the August progresses into September, combine a lot of these colonies. So as I need queens in other colonies, I'll pull them from a small nuke and combine it with another small nuke, or late season sales. The first queens I want to get rid of are the ones in the littlest medium-sized nukes. Getting ready for winter, I've found that, you know, double tall like that, where it's deep over deep, or here medium with a deep on top. That seems to work really well for a cluster size and gives me a good sized nuke coming out of winter. The 5-frame solo nukes, like let's say here, these can work. Sometimes it works out really well, and sometimes the clusters are just a little bit smaller coming out of winter, and that can be a little challenging. So anyway, I'm combining in. But, you know, getting ready for winter means making sure I got a good colony, good queen, and then varroa mites is the big challenge, right? So here I've got a lot of colonies. I actually haven't really done any treatments this year. Here it is late August. I've never waited this long. Typically by mid-July I start working on the mites. Running a lot treatment-free, trying to, you know, work on genetics that are more resistant, but that also comes with a lot of risks, so I'm expecting higher losses. Basically what I've been doing is doing a lot of mite counts and then harbo assays. Like this colony, for instance, is a colony I picked last year as a breeder. Here's mite counts of 0, 1, 0 again, oh, that's July. And then I did another mite count this year. That was last year's counts. This year, and I just had 1 mite. This one scored a 4 on the harbo assay last year, and so I feel confident it's a good resistant colony. And they seem to be doing great treatment-free. But I know that comes with a lot of risks. Not every colony gets those genetics, so I do a lot of oxalic acid vaporization. It, you know, pros and cons with everything. I find it works pretty good though for my own, you know, operation. Paired with hygienic stock, I think it's quite effective. So this bee yard, I average about 1% loss, sometimes as high as 3%, but that's not too bad for something as cheap as oxalic acid. I've got 2 vaporizers here, the old Jono style. Used to use pan vaporizers for a while. These, unlike some of the modern ones, they require electricity, so some of the new battery ones seem pretty awesome, but these work, so I'm still fine using these. So I'm going to try one-handed plug these in, get them ready. I happen to have electricity buried down to my bee yard, which is so handy, which has also got my fence charger plugged in, making a lot of noise. And my out yards, I have solar systems set up with a large data center battery, so I can run my vaporizers off of inverter. And like using 2 vaporizers, it goes a little faster. And yeah, so basically what I'm doing here is I'll just be treating the little nukes. All the larger colonies that I'm doing more careful analysis on, I'm going through doing the mite washes. But then if they fail, like say this one here, this one, yeah, so that one had a 7 mite wash, and then the brood did not look healthy. So I added some oxalic acid extended release, and they'll probably get vaporized and also requeened. The requeening, anything with a vertical brick, that's where I'm basically dropping in a queen cell, and that gives a bit of a brood break. So that works incredibly well with a vaporization, because more mites on the bees means more efficacy. Mites in the brood, of course, the oxalic acid doesn't really harm. So that's why we do repeated doses. So I'm going to be coming through 5 to 7 days, and yeah, it kind of just depends on my, you know, daily life. You know, if it's 5, 6, 7 days, it all seems to work out okay. Past years I would start mid-July doing this treatments, and at that period I'm doing a lot more requeening, so that really helps hammer the mites. Here it's going to be a little less efficacy because I'm not requeening colonies much anymore. And yeah, so just thought I would talk a little bit about, you know, methods. I use a syringe, and actually I just dumped this oxalic acid in. It's super powdery. Once it gets a little bit of moisture in it, it works better. But I can jam the syringe in here, and got lines scored in. This is 8 grams, 4 grams. So here we have about 3 grams. It's a little much, so we're going to drop it down to about 2. And then that can go into a cup. I don't close up my entrances, so I'm going to drop 2 grams on a nuke, actually. And a full size, double nuke here, which is equivalent to a 10 frame box, that's going to be about 4 grams. Getting up into larger colonies, let's say this one here, although it's running treatment free, so I'm not going to treat it. But this one is would get about 6 to 8 grams. TF on the front, that's just so I don't accidentally treat it and mess up my own studies. So if it has that, I'm not going to do oxalic acid, which actually speeds things up. I'm only going to treat about half this bee yard. So yeah, safety's huge. I've been doing vaporization for a long time and would just do it in sandals, shorts, a mask. I remember early days with vaporization, people were saying, just stand upwind. Whew, you get one breath of that, so that's no good. But I'll tell you what, these masks here, full face, are amazing. The glass, or I guess plastic, stays a lot cleaner and doesn't fog up like the goggles. And my skin would react to the vapor. My facial skin, I'm redhead, would totally not do well. And gloves are key. And now I wear pants. I do most of my beekeeping shorts, but here, I think I have an example. Right there's a scar from, of all things, it was the molten acid hit my leg. I was treating a colony and then realized I actually had Apogard on it. And you don't mix oxalic acid and Apogard. Yanked it out, took the cap off, and molten acid hit me on my leg, and it burned it pretty bad. So yeah, pants, wear leather gloves, and the mask. And I guess I'm gonna just go ahead and get that stuff on. Putting the phone there. Sorry, I don't have any fancy gear here, so my mask on. It's fun to talk through this. I don't typically use smoke. Leather gloves. And let's see how this works with one hand. So I'm going to come down. I'm using 2 vaporizers. So first vaporizer, just going to go in. Little tap to get the acid to fall out. Grab the other vaporizer. Just like that. These go pretty quick. Almost done here. I'm seeing 370. Wait till it gets to 400 degrees and then I can pull it out. There we are. Well, this is harder with one hand. So, next one like that. This one's ready. So I just cruise down through the bee yard. If I was two-handed, I'd be loading the caps again. You see here, I can put it on top of the screen. The bees are coming out the side, so I kill less bees that way. Oh, keeps you going. Big colonies are kind of nice because they take longer. Gives you a little bit of breathing, but this goes really fast. And I think I'm going to stop with that. Probably seen the process enough. And yep, that one's done. So a little bit of residue coming out, but it's not much. You see how I'm overdosing because I know some's coming out the entrance. It's, not by the book, but having really low winter losses of like 1%, I feel like that's proof that it must work. All right, I'm gonna take off the mask so you can hear me better. Yeah. Oh, that's better. Yeah, so at this point now, cleaning with these, I would pour water. That is also safety in case I get acid on me. I can wash off with water. I would pour water in these bowls and then use this to scrub it and make sure I have water coming out the spout to clean that. And that's it for the cleanup. Well, 40 minutes later and done vaporizing and I'm sweaty. Wow. Glad not to have to do that every day. So, yeah, I had a few more thoughts while I was vaporizing and just thought I'd share, just little tidbits that, oh yeah, I should have mentioned that in the first film. But first off was started filming of the sumac over there, but I'm letting them grow up in my bee yard to try to get small shade trees, so about like that. The only downside is they don't seem to attract swarms to land on them. I've actually never had a swarm land, whereas this tree I'm under here, this little cherry, that branch right there gets a lot, and then also out there's a branch that gets a lot of swarms. So maybe I should have fruit trees and not sumacs, but the sumacs grow so fast, and I really like their late season, or I guess August time, for pollen. This one's past bloom, but the young ones are blooming now. I guess they're a little delayed because they're younger. So yeah, but with oxalic acid, it for years I just wouldn't do any mite testing. It worked, and if you have really low losses, why test? And it was very simple. Just starting in late June, July, start to treat. And, sometimes I'd also do it in the spring if I was on top of it. And yeah, it worked. It was low labor in the sense of testing honestly takes longer than doing a mite wash or certainly a Harbo assay, way longer than a treatment. So why treat or not treat? And I guess I really feel that long term, the good genetics are kind of our solution to mites much more than treatments, and that can only be achieved by, in a way, running things treatment free to see how they handle the mites, and that's what the direction I'm going. I've run huge, well, basically almost 300 colonies treatment free up until this point, and now I'm really starting to select down to the ones I want to possibly have as breeders. The nukes, I think realistically should have been treating all the 5-frame nukes earlier, just because I had thoughts that I would be doing mite washes and all of them, but reality is I don't have that time, and so I probably, for health wise, should have treated. And there's a good strong argument to just the bond method, where you just don't treat anything, and the ones that survive are the genetics we want to survive, right? But bees are my living. It's our family's main source of income, and a living bee colony is potential profit, and that's important. A dead one, not so much, other than eliminating the genetics I might not want. But maybe I could do that other ways, by testing and then requeening. So that's a lot of what I've been doing. Like that colony I showed earlier, where they weren't doing great, I got rid of that queen, and so that's a lot of what I'm doing right now, is colonies that are showing promise but maybe not great. Here's one that is actually a little higher mite count than I would like, 5 mites on August 2nd. We'll see. I've had some where I think I have one up here, the mite count was 6, and it was an older queen, so I thought, well, I'll do a Harbo assay a little earlier in the season than I want, but I'll do it, and there were no reproductive mites in the brood, so I'm going to hold on to that queen for a little longer and maybe do another assay late August. My goal is to to use mite washes as the preliminary selection to narrow down the ones that then I come back and do the Harbo assay on. Just because the Harbo assay, where I'm uncapping 100, 200 pupa, it takes a bit of time, 15, 20, 30 minutes per colony. Sometimes longer if it's a really good colony. They don't have mites, you just got to keep going, right? So yeah, and I don't know, it feels like everything's trade-offs. The oxalic acid, I've got to wear the mask. It's a little dangerous to us humans, but seems to be the least impact on the bees, but I know it has some impact. Here, those 2 colonies haven't been treated today, but these over here have, and I don't see any difference in the way they're behaving. And when I go in the brood nest, it doesn't seem to matter. Some of these, like I treated this one here, it's got a vertical brick. That means it has a virgin. I've never noticed a negative impact from treating with, while they're raising queens, which is kind of amazing. Look at that. See, they're doing a little robbing. This bee here is trying to get in, but the guard bees are doing a good job of protecting. There's their actual entrance over here. I love it. It's fun to watch what's going on at the entrances. So yeah, I tried Apigard. That really led to a lot of robbing issues with nukes. Formic is just way too strong. Don't want to do the synthetic chemicals, so that kind of, I don't know, weird way left me with oxalic acid as being the route that felt the most comfortable. And also, yeah, hey, what can you say? It's really affordable once you own the equipment. One of the neat things I'm seeing now is tracking daughters from mothers. So I had mothers that were really mite resistant, and now I'm going through and finding daughters that are showing that same resistance, and that is so cool. What's really fun though is, I haven't treated this yard this year, and here we are in August, and I think my average mite load is right around 2%, 2 mites per 300. So that's under 1% with no treatments. So I feel okay with that. It's been doing well. Oh, the kids are up there on the porch calling for me, so I'm going to hang up here and hope this was useful. Thanks a lot.